Ildiko Spinfisher, I am really excited to have this conversation with you and share you, my beautiful, wonderful, loving friend, with the world, and your new book coming out, Energy Aware. Thank you so much for giving me the honor of sharing you today.
Oh, Nancy, thank you so much. I'm so delighted and honoured to have you interviewing me today. And yes, you're a very special person in my life. So it's absolutely wonderful to be here, to be doing this now and to give it to the world.
Well, I have to say, before we go any farther, that, you and I have known each other for several years now. And I always feel like I come away, even just from a conversation with you, more enlightened, more energy aware. I love that that's the title of your book. And I too am using those two words more and more and more in my vocabulary ever since I started reading the excerpts of your book and what you're
Wonderful.
doing. But here's the thing that I want to say before we go any farther. So I've known you for several years. I already established that. We've been friends, we've been clients, we've done work together. And I'm reading this book and I'm like, holy moly, this book is amazing. This is a book that needs to be in the hands of people. It really is.
Fantastic. Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it is. Yeah.
And so I think the first question is, why now? I know the answer, but why now?
Okay, so first I want to say that I've been meaning to write this book since 2013, but it wasn't because I was either preoccupied or procrastinating. The reason it didn't get written until now is because it didn't feel like the right time. It's as simple as that. Last year, suddenly something just popped and changed, and I just went, oh, now's the time. Um, at the time, I didn't really realize what was going to ensue. We were right at the beginning of the pandemic last year. Everybody was running around like headless chickens, terrified, and all of that stuff. We were in the first lockdown, and something inside me just said, "Now's the time. Get on with it now." And I always listened to my intuition, number one, even though my mind jumped in and went, "What are you doing? You must be joking. I just told it to shut up, as I always do, because he doesn't know enough. And on I went. And I've spent the last 11 months working really hard to get this book done because I knew that the timing would be absolutely accurately right for it to be published. And it's nearly there. It's a couple of weeks off being published. And look at what's happening on the world stage.
Yeah.
It's time for a new answer. It's time to become aware that energy is the new frontier, and energy aware will get you there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And um, okay, this is how I describe you when I describe you to my friends. I say, to say that Ildiko does energy work is like calling Mighty Mouse a mouse. It's just, not true. I mean, Mighty Mouse is like mighty, and the work that you do with energy is mighty. So I understand that now is the perfect time for this book to be shared, this information to be shared. And you go over several different modalities within the book. You talk about personal energy, you talk about karmic energy, you talk about relationship energy, you talk about energy of the planets. Um, what what was your thought in breaking it down this way?
The reason I broke down, you're talking about the 24 energy principles that the book is really based around.
Mhm.
The reason I broke it down is because I wanted it to be easily understandable and digestible, because some of those principles are specifically about managing and maximizing your personal energy. Some of them are absolutely about the interaction between other people and how to make those relationships deeper, more meaningful, and more fulfilling. And the third section is about global energy principles, which is about what we do with the world now, because we have an utter responsibility, which we're starting to understand more and more. And I wanted to make sure that readers understand that they are powerfully able to influence what happens now with our planet.
Yeah, I learned quite a few things reading the information from your book, specifically, the Wi-Fi and how it started. That was interesting to me, and how, it came about, and we're thinking, wow, this is a really awesome way to do something we've never been able to do before. But as it grew, as it expanded, I don't think that I'll just say the lay person was really aware of the energy standpoint and how everything works. You'll be able to better describe this, but you have a line, like a timeline in the book about the microwave and the waves and how it goes out like that. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, so what you're describing is the electromagnetic spectrum. So what we actually see as visible light sits in the middle, more or less in the middle, and it's a tiny part of the full electromagnetic spectrum, which are the wave frequencies. Some of them are um, radio frequencies. Some of them are ultraviolet, infrared. Then you've got gamma, you've got delta. This is a whole spectrum. So you can imagine the rainbow, but the rainbow extended right out. So some of these frequencies are not biologically sustainable. And the frequencies that are used with our Wi-Fi, microwave ovens, the EMFs, the electromagnetic frequency spectrum, are starting to show up as causing health problems for us. And it's more, I'm coming from the perspective that it's about, number one, becoming energy aware, right?
Right.
About the environment, the energetic environment that we have at home. And especially during this time period where um, everybody was stuck at home and stuck on Zoom and stuck on, using the devices, we have been bathed in these non-biologically friendly frequencies. So the electromagnetic spectrum is very important to understand, because just because you can't see it and you don't think you can feel it doesn't mean that it isn't there and affecting you.
Right. That was one of the things that really, it was like wow. And again, I probably am going to say this throughout this conversation, but I think everyone will walk away saying, I am now more energy aware after reading Ildiko's book. And it's so simple, really, the way that you explain it, and just those two words, energy aware. When when I find myself repeating those two words over and over and over to myself throughout the day, it reminds me to be energy aware. Like, don't put
Fantastic.
my
Yeah.
cell phone beside my head anymore at night, and different things like that.
Mm.
So it's really impacted me in a really powerful way, a positive way.
That's great to hear, Nancy. And that is what my intention is. It's not to, frighten anybody. It's to give solutions and to give start some conversations that it is, let's face it, high time that we started having, because our environment is effectively being manipulated and created by companies who, I'm sorry to say, do not have health and safety at the forefront of their purpose and their goals.
Well, it's one of the things that I really loved about it, because you share information like that, but you also give a solution. And so, the book isn't about, ooh, scare tactics, like so many things are nowadays. It's like trying to scare people or create a fear about around any subject. But you make us aware, and then you give us options, which is very helpful as well.
Mm, great. That's good to hear that you are finding that that's what's coming across.
Absolutely. Now, if I could just flip over a little bit to the personal side, One of the topics that you talk about, which I dearly love, and again, this is something that I remind myself of all the time, is the energy field around our heart. Would you talk about that, please?
Yes, sure. So, really, this has been neglected for a very long time. I would say, millennia. So, we are energetic beings, right? So, I can prove that to you because if I ask you, how do your muscles function? The answer is through electricity. The reason why you can bring your arm up is because there are tiny little sparks of electricity which are contracting the muscle so that it pulls up. That's the way it works. How do you think? You think electrically because thoughts are created by the tiny electrical sparks that jump from the synapses in your brain. So even your cells function an electrical. Um, the thing about us as electrical beings is that we have one part of us which has a massively powerful electrical field, and that is our heart. Now, it has been shown through comparing EEG and ECG records that our hearts are 5,000 times more magnetically powerful than our minds. So it tells you that it's not the mind that is the dominant force in our system, it is the heart. And we have to start thinking from the heart and not from the mind, because when our electrical field for our heart is fully functioning and fully powered up, it's our minds that align with our heart, not the other way around. And in the mind dominated society, the Western society that we have built up, there is a total misunderstanding of how this works. And no wonder it creates so many problems across society.
Now, when you talk about the heart being more powerful than the mind, um, what, how do you describe it, the feelings from the heart area? Do you talk about that at all?
Yes, the first thing to get to grips with is that the mind does not do emotions. If you try to think about and to understand logically what love is, just take a moment and see if you can understand logically what is love. You can't. Your mind might tell you, oh, yeah, of course, we get that, but you don't.
No.
But if you take it down to your heart and you just feel, what does love feel like? You get this flood of emotions immediately. And that tells you straight away that what I'm saying is correct, that your mind is not capable of emotions. It doesn't do emotions. In fact, it doesn't care about emotions. And that is why our top institutions are emotionless. If you think about our top, top echelon of society and the kind of institutions that have existed for many centuries, they are emotionless. And the reason why is because emotions do not count for the mind. They are just a tool to get you to either not do something or stop doing something, which is seen as a threat to your survival, which I call the survival calculation. So what your mind does is make a calculation in the current moment about whether a current situation is viewed by it as threatening to your survival, your physical survival, or not. And the only information that it has to base that on is everything that you've experienced up until that point. It has no other information, and therefore it is finite and it is limited. Whereas the heart is completely expansive. It is where emotions are experienced by us, and the heart is connected in through its energy field into the energy matrix, which is basically the sea. It's actually photons of light, basically vibrational waves, which are mainly light from the understanding of quantum physics. It's this massive sea of light and information that our hearts are connected directly into without an interface, because our minds have an interface. Our minds narrow down the amount of information that comes in, because otherwise we'd bust a fuse, we just overload. But the heart is capable of being connected in with the reality of situations and through the emotions, because emotions create motion, right? And thoughts don't. Thoughts just create more thoughts.
Right.
So I say, I found this quote, I don't know who it's from, I think it was, anonymous, but I thought it was amazing and I love it. The heart knows no answers. Sorry, get that wrong. The mind knows no answers and the heart knows no questions.
Oh,
And
I
I'm thinking
love
that's
that.
something. Yeah, isn't it great?
That's awesome. I'm always telling people, our feelings are driving the bus of our life. Our feelings are driving
Yeah.
the bus of our life. When you get in touch with your
Mhm.
feelings, when you are aware of what you're feeling at any given moment, you'll know where your thoughts are directed, and our feelings
Yeah.
create our thoughts, and our thoughts create what we bring back to us. And
Mhm.
that's why I love your work, because I'm always learning something new from you. I'm always learning that the importance of being energy aware. And I'm going to just stop right here though and say, first of all, again, I'm going to repeat, I've known you for several years. I know about your work, but reading your book, I was like, man, my friend is really smart. She knows a lot of stuff about this, man. And I already knew that, but reading the book, I'm like, I love when I learn something. And just when I think I can't learn anything new from you, I always learn something new from you. And I appreciate that so much for you and for me.
Oh, that's
And
great.
that's one of the things in a relationship where you have reciprocity that I think people underestimate. It's not so much about, oh, how can I give? How can I give? Or how can I receive? How can I receive? It's about really knowing that how you're putting out there is
Mm.
how you're receiving back. And I'm always reminded of that fact when I think about being energy aware.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head, and it's about the quality of the relationship. Because for me, energy is about relationships. It's a give and take. Even at the subatomic level, energy is given to one subatomic particle and then passed back. There's this dance going on all the time, this going on all the time. And it's the same with us. We can translate the micro into the macro. And it's the quality of that passing backwards and forwards that creates the richness of a relationship, definitely.
Now, in the relationship portion, one of the portions of your book, you talk about compassion. Can you talk about
Yeah.
that a little bit?
So obviously compassion is to do with the heart, it's heart stuff. But compassion is a freedom. There's two parts to this. There's forgiveness, and then once forgiveness can happen, compassion can come. So if we can forgive not just other people, but ourselves for the things that we see as having gone wrong in our lives, then we undo the knot. The word for forgiveness in Greek, in ancient Greek, means untying the knot. It literally
Oh,
means that. So what we do is we literally free ourselves up by forgiving, not forgetting, because we hold the information of what happened. And that's fine, that's acceptable. But the forgiving comes from the heart because it's an energy of emotion. Um, Feeling that you can't forgive, holding on to grudges is also an energy of emotion. But when you can reverse that and you can free it up, then the heart is open to be able to experience compassion. Because if you can't forgive, you can't have that compassion. That has to come first. It's a two-step dance, So compassion is so very important because, again, it's two steps. There's compassion for others, but there's compassion for ourselves too.
mhm.
Starting to have that gentleness, kindness towards ourselves, which I think in our modern world is not talked about really. It's not considered to be deeply important, and yet it is one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves, because when we have that that fountain of compassion for ourselves, then we can extend that out from ourselves, and everything comes from us out there, not out there to us. It's this all the time, you know, it's from us out.
Now, Ildiko, what in your words, in your thoughts, in your opinion, are the reasons that people need to be energy aware? I mean, it's one thing for you to share this information because I know your story, I know where you come from, and I know how this has impacted your life and the life of your clients. But if someone's decided to, is attracted to this video, and by the way, if you're attracted to this video, there is a reason for that. But
Always.
why do you believe that people need to be energy aware?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the natural world for a moment. Let's just take our attention away from human beings, us, and look at the natural world. If an animal makes a mistake, it either gets eaten or it starves to death. It's as simple as that. It's a do or die level. But the thing about us is we have moved so far away from understanding that do or die level that we think we actually have the luxury of making mistake after mistake after mistake, and what I call the disappointing outcome cycle. Lots of people are jaded, lots of people are disappointed, and that just leads to frustration, depression, all of those negative emotional states that many people pop pills for, or have some sort of intervention for. But you know, the root cause is where we need to change this.
Mhm.
And the answer to your question, why do we need to become energy aware? Because let's go back to the animals. They only use the energy that they need. They conserve, they're masters of conserving energy. Birds that don't move until they are ready to pounce and go and catch their prey. And then they sit on a branch all day. Your cat, you know, your cat might go out in the evening and you know, catch a mouse, but what's it doing all day long? Sleeping. You might think it's lazy, but what it's doing is in conserving energy that it doesn't need to use. But what do? We rush around like headless chickens. Oh, let's work so hard through the time that we've got during today, you know, 9 to 5. Let's cram as much in as we possibly can. And then when we can't keep our eyes open, let's just chuck back some coffee so we keep our eyes open. We manage to do even more. Let's just sleep 2 hours a night and get up at 6 again in the morning and cram another load in. You know, I think if the animals were looking at us, well, they might be looking at us going, those humans, geez, who'd like to be them? You know, because what we don't understand is how to conserve our energy and our resources. So we are constantly exhausting ourselves and running on empty. When you understand what's happening with your energy, you understand how to conserve it, you understand how to maximize it, and you understand what choices to make sure that you are aligned with the best possible outcome, which is what I call the empowered choice cycle. And the way to get you there is through what I describe in the book, and I call them bright choices, making bright choices.
Well, when you say bright choices, do you mean like enlightened? Do you mean like it turns a light on? What do you mean by that?
I mean that when you make that choice, it brightens you up,
Ah,
right? So instead of making a choice where you're not sure what you're doing, you're not sure about the outcome, you feel anxious because you haven't had the repercussion of the outcome yet. With a bright choice, there are 3 parts to making a bright choice. Number 1, deal with your emotional baggage. Get rid of it because it will cloud your judgment. Number 2, sort out your self-limiting beliefs and perceptions because they will cloud your judgment. Number 3, make sure you understand, you are energy aware, you understand the energetic environment that you're making the choice in. Right time, right person, right place, everything aligned. Then make your choice, and then that will be a bright choice, because you'll immediately know it, you'll feel it on the bone level that you made the right choice. And then what happens is you get the opportunities and the resources and everything happening normally very rapidly once you make the right choice.
And I have found that to be true. It's amazing, especially now with this new energy that we've moved into, the Aquarius.
Yeah.
And, things are happening so quickly. We're manifesting so quickly. It's basically like you think it and
Right.
it's here. And that's why it's also very important to be aware of our feelings and our thoughts right now, because we are manifesting so quickly that it's important to know what we want and what we don't want, because
Mm.
most of us are trained and conditioned to think about what we don't want.
Yeah.
And because of that, we're walking around attracting things into our life that we don't want. And we're like, I don't
Yeah.
understand this. Why is this happening? I'm doing what all the teachers and gurus and spiritual advisors say to do. This crap doesn't work. And it's because they really haven't been taught the difference between knowing
That's
that they're
right.
concentrating on what they want and what they don't want.
That's right. Because I have I won't say an issue, but I talk about the affirmations. So everybody goes on about the affirmations. I don't. And the reason is because if you don't believe, or you believe the opposite to the affirmation that you are saying every day, you will manifest the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'll be putting your energy and your intention into what you don't believe, and you'll be triggering that every time you say the affirmation. I actually don't believe in fake it till you make it.
Me neither.
um, I believe that what you need to do is to change your perception, and have that bone knowledge, knowing that it is the way that you perceive it. So that came out really clumsily. But what I mean by that is, if you don't believe something, you need to get to the root of why you don't believe it. If it's a negative and it's a blocker, what I call a logical limiter on your expansion. And you need to deal with that before you say any affirmations. Don't just say affirmations because they're in a book, or somebody told you to say them, because you quite honestly often will get the opposite of what you were trying to achieve.
Yeah, because if you're speaking these affirmations, but you're feeling something opposite of what you're
Yeah.
speaking, you're going to attract what you're feeling way before what you're speaking.
Yeah, because you'll be putting out the energy of what you believe. In other words, if you believe it won't work, that's the energy you put out. Even if you're saying something else, you could be telling, 1,000 people that you believe in something, but it makes no difference at all, because if you don't believe it, that is what's going to show up, and not what you don't believe.
Yes, and you can't fool the universe. You
No,
can't fool energy. I mean, energy is um um non-biased, it's not good or bad, right or wrong, it just is. So wherever you're vibrating, that's what
yeah,
you're going to attract more of, and that's the beautiful thing about it.
that's right. So, in other words, something either exists or it doesn't. That's what it boils down to. So, if your belief does not exist, then it doesn't exist. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ildiko, what else would you like us to know about this book? What would you like? What is, if somebody said, what is that burning comment that's inside of you that you just want to shout to the world about your book, about why you believe people need to purchase this book and read this book?
Right. So, energy aware is about the most powerful force that you didn't realize you have at the end of your fingertips, effectively. Uh, I mean, it's surrounding you. You can use it, you can harness it, and you can completely transform your life. I advocate mindlessness, by the way, not mindfulness. Mindlessness. The less you use your mind, the better. The more you use your energy, the better. Um, so energy aware is, the subtitle is Live a Life of No Mistakes. If you get to understand your energetic birthright, because your biofield that surrounds you is your energetic birthright, and you have a right to it. So this is not being really talked about in these terms, but this is what I'm saying. It's your birthright. So you want to get to know what your birthright is, surely. If you don't know about your energy, that is like going through life with one arm tied behind your back. And how useful is that? Because you can only do half the things that you would want to do because your other arm isn't there. So it's equivalent to that. If you don't want to make any more annoying and disappointing mistakes and choices, energy aware is a powerful pathway and guide for you to understand yourself, to understand others, to understand our planet and the universe and how things actually work rather than what you've been told. With that knowledge, you empower yourself to completely change your life and live it the way that you want.
I that was a perfect way to put it. And I'm going to hold up this picture that is on your Facebook, and I want to hold it close. Can you tell people how to order this book? Right now it's pre-order at the time of this video. So can you tell people how they can pre-order this book?
Yes, sure. So I have a web page, which we can provide the link for. You just go straight onto the web page, and there are two ways of ordering the book. You can either order the book on its own, or you can order the book in an audio version if you prefer to listen to it. And then you could gift the book to a loved one as a present, birthday present, maybe. So yeah, just go onto the web page. I am going to be printing, first off, a run of 100 copies, and they will be personally signed by me. You will get a special one-off bookmark to go with the book, and also a invitation to my book launch party. So that's the offer at the moment.
And what is that link? Can you just share it with us here?
Oh, it is liferetuning.com, and then I believe it's / Ildiko Spinfisher / author.
Perfect, perfect. Ildiko, I am so excited for this book to come out. I'm so excited for people to know you like I know you, if that's possible, to know your work like I know your work, and to be able to experience your work like I've been able to experience your work. So I am very, very, very honored to be one of the people who is sharing your message and getting your message out there. Thank you so much for being with me today. I appreciate you.
Nancy, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and you are, as I said at the beginning, a very special friend. And to be doing this, to have this opportunity, to be able to share this to people, but also to be able to share it with, spending time with you, is an absolute gift for me. So thank you so much. I
You
really,
are
really
so
appreciate it.
welcome. So all of you, get out there. If you're still if you're watching this video before the book is published, and when will the do you have an exact publish date yet?
I don't have an exact publisher date because my publisher has still got my manuscript.
Okay.
So the next couple of weeks, but
So we'll say spring
yeah,
of
the launch.
2021. Spring of
Oh yeah, sure.
2021.
Spring
So if you're
2021.
if you're watching it right now, you can pre-order the book. And remember, if you're one of the first 100, you can get your book signed by Ildiko. And if you're watching this video afterwards, then you can go to the link that will be provided here and order your book, audio or visual, whichever works best for you. So in the meantime, this is Ildiko Spinfisher and Nancy Muller saying, we wish you, wish you, wish you much, much, much energy aware.
Absolutely. And have a lovely now.
Ciao for now.